Billionaire rejects his ex and publicly kisses his wife to declare his love, shocking everyone. Scandal, passion and wealth collide in the story you're about to witness, a story that proves love can flourish in the most unexpected ways. When self-made billionaire Alexander Price steps onto a glitzy stage to inaugurate his new luxury hotel, no one anticipates the bombshell about to erupt. His ex-girlfriend, long thought to be buried in his past, crashes the event, hoping to reclaim her place in his life. But Alexander's heart belongs to another, his wife, the graceful yet resolute Charlotte. In a single moment of boldness, he rejects his ex in front of everyone and seals his devotion with a breathtaking public kiss. Alexander Price's childhood was no fairy tale. Though now he possessed a towering fortune built on real estate and cutting-edge technology, his origins were far from glamorous. Born in a modest suburb of Phoenix, Arizona, to Robert and Eloise Price, his father a struggling mechanic and his mother a part-time seamstress, Alexander watched as his parents labored day and night just to keep food on the table. It was during these formative years that he developed a voracious hunger for success, vowing he would never allow himself or his loved ones to suffer in the way he had as a child. Despite the hardships, young Alexander displayed an uncanny aptitude for business. By the age of 11, he was selling homemade lemonade in front of his house, and by 15, he'd upgraded to reconditioning old bicycles from thrift stores and reselling them at a profit. Every weekend, he would do chores for neighbors, shovel snow in winters, mow lawns in summers, anything to earn a few extra dollars. These were the seeds of enterprise that would later blossom into the billionaire empire known as Price Innovations. By the time Alexander turned 18, he secured a scholarship to study business administration at Stanford University. His brilliance and determination caught the eye of many mentors, including a venture capitalist named Matthew Townsend, later his CFO, who recognized Alexander's potential to disrupt entire industries. During his sophomore year, Alexander launched a small tech startup that specialized in business automation software. He worked out of a cramped dorm room, partnering with two equally driven classmates, and within months they generated buzz across campus. However, all the newfound attention in college also brought him into contact with the glittering world of parties, fraternities, and wealthy peers, people who had grown up taking certain luxuries for granted. It was during this time, on a brisk fall afternoon in the campus cafe, that Alexander first encountered Olivia Carter. She was studying economics, sporting designer clothes, and radiating an air of privilege he had never experienced. She represented the high society life he secretly coveted, and he was drawn to her like a moth to a flame. At first, Alexander struggled to gain Olivia's attention. He approached her politely, offering an awkward compliment on her Gucci handbag. She responded with a smile that revealed her perfectly white teeth. Soon, they bonded over shared courses, weekend study sessions, and a mutual fascination with success stories. But where Alexander's interest had a genuine edge, he strove to climb out of poverty. Olivia's was more about appearances. She was intrigued by the ambitious young man who was going places. Their campus romance was intense and fueled by the thrill of newfound freedoms. They dined at chic restaurants in Palo Alto, attended exclusive parties hosted by the children of politicians, and spent late nights whispering dreams of conquering the world. For a moment, Alexander believed Olivia was the one. But as he began raking in substantial seed funding for his startup, Olivia's mask started to slip. She became increasingly fixated on money, status, and her own comfort. While Alexander toiled all night on business models, she would complain about not having enough quality time, yet she refused to attend the coding marathons or help in any capacity that wasn't glamorous. Their relationship finally splintered during a weekend getaway in Napa Valley. Olivia demanded Alexander spend a fortune on lavish hotel suites, designer clothes, and exclusive wine tastings. When he balked, explaining that every penny he earned was better used to reinvest in his startup, she unleashed a tirade about how tired she was of living like a pauper. The argument escalated, harsh words were exchanged, until ultimately Olivia stormed out. She left Alexander shell-shocked, wondering if all the success in the world could ever satisfy someone like her. Graduating a semester early, Alexander threw himself wholeheartedly into expanding his tech venture. Through relentless perseverance, strategic alliances, and a bit of luck, Price Innovations took off, attracting major corporate clients. As revenue soared, so did Alexander's net worth, ultimately catapulting him into the ranks of the world's youngest billionaires by his late 20s. Yet for all the wealth, he couldn't deny a lingering emptiness in his personal life. His brief, tumultuous relationship with Olivia left him wary of romance. For a time, he concentrated solely on business, preferring late nights in the boardroom over candlelit dinners. And then he met Charlotte da Silva. A brilliant architectural engineer with a knack for innovative design, Charlotte was invited to a Price Innovations event to showcase her cutting-edge, sustainable architecture concept. Graceful in appearance, with russet brown hair that flowed down her shoulders, she possessed a measured confidence that came not from wealth, but from knowing her own worth. Their first interaction was pure serendipity. Charlotte was demonstrating a virtual blueprint for an eco-friendly skyscraper, and Alexander was captivated not just by the project, but by the unwavering passion in her voice. Curiosity piqued, he introduced himself after her presentation. She calmly responded with a handshake, a grin, and no trace of starstruck admiration. In fact, she looked at him like he was just another professional contact. Intrigued by her indifference, unlike many who fawned over his money or reputation, Alexander asked Charlotte for her number. With modest caution, she obliged, but clarified that if he was looking for just another corporate friend, she would be happy to talk business. If he wanted more, he would have to show her that he was more than a bank account in a tailored suit. In the following months, Alexander and Charlotte forged a bond that was based on mutual respect and genuine curiosity. They spent long evenings discussing the future of sustainable infrastructure, the necessity of philanthropic endeavors, and the importance of leading a meaningful life beyond fame and fortune. Eventually, Alexander mustered the courage to propose a collaboration. Charlotte would lead the architectural vision for Price Innovations' upcoming real estate ventures, and in turn, Price Innovations would provide her with the funding and resources to push the limits of eco-friendly design. Even as their professional partnership blossomed, romantic sparks crackled between them. Over a rooftop dinner in San Francisco, as the city lights shimmered beneath a star-kissed sky, Alexander asked Charlotte to be his girlfriend. The emotional gravity of the moment was undeniable. Charlotte broke into a radiant smile, nodding her acceptance, her eyes brimming with hope for what they might build together, personally and professionally. A year later, they were married in an intimate ceremony. No red carpet, no paparazzi. Just a private garden surrounded by close friends, family, and a canopy of wisteria blossoms. On that day, Alexander felt complete in a way he never had before. The boy from Phoenix who once peddled lemonade was now a global icon, standing hand in hand with the woman he loved. And for the first time, he realized that real wealth wasn't just about net worth, it was about finding a partner who truly understood and nurtured his soul. Yet, as the gears of destiny turned, a figure from the past would soon re-emerge. Olivia Carter, eyes set on the fortune she once deemed insufficient, was lurking in the wings, waiting for a chance to reclaim her place in Alexander's life. Her arrival would set off a chain of events that would culminate in the spectacle that would shock the public and the media alike, unveiling Alexander's bold, unshakable love for Charlotte. Little did he know, the upcoming confrontation would also test the limits of loyalty, trust, and resilience. The seeds of drama had been planted. All that remained was to watch them bloom into a swirl of scandal and romance. Several years passed, and Alexander's business empire continued to flourish. Price Innovations ventured into new realms: luxury hotels, aerospace technologies, and cutting-edge medical research. Yet, success bred competition, and it also attracted old acquaintances who saw Alexander's achievements as an opportunity to reconnect for personal gain. Olivia Carter was one of them. A year after Alexander's wedding to Charlotte, Olivia encountered a series of financial setbacks. Her father's investment firm floundered, and her lavish lifestyle began to crumble. Desperate, she turned her attention back to the man she'd once tossed aside, hoping his sentimental attachments might pave her way to a stable, opulent future. To her dismay, reuniting with Alexander proved challenging. He was notoriously busy and fiercely guarded by his executive assistant and close circle of advisors. Emails went unanswered, phone calls were blocked. Olivia, never one to give up, took a different route. She began pulling strings at social gatherings, philanthropic galas, and corporate mixers, where she might bump into him by accident. The turning point arrived when she learned about a grand opening gala for the Price Tower, a state-of-the-art luxury hotel and residential complex in New York City. This project was Alexander and Charlotte's brainchild, blending Charlotte's vision for green technology and Alexander's passion for unparalleled luxury. The building soared above the Manhattan skyline, a testament to their collective genius. The grand opening promised to be a star-studded affair. Hollywood celebrities, prominent CEOs, government officials, and international dignitaries would all attend. The guest list was curated by Alexander's close friend, celebrity event planner Sabrina Wu, who guaranteed an evening of splendor. Paparazzi would line the streets, news helicopters would circle overhead, and every detail would be meticulously covered by mainstream media. It was the perfect stage for someone seeking a dramatic re-entrance. As Alexander and Charlotte prepared for the event, they seemed like the perfect power couple. Their synergy was not just personal, but professional. Alexander managed the macro strategy of price innovations, while Charlotte applied her architectural and engineering expertise to shape the brand's identity. Over time, Charlotte became a beloved figure in the company, revered for her modesty and intelligence. Together, they were unstoppable, until, of course, old ghosts returned. In the weeks leading up to the gala, rumors began circulating that Olivia Carter was back in town. One day, Charlotte found a glossy business card slipped under the front door of their Manhattan penthouse. The embossed letters spelled out, "Olivia Carter, personal stylist and lifestyle consultant." On the back, a scrawled message read, "We need to catch up. I've changed. Call me." Oh. Charlotte's eyes narrowed. She carefully tucked the card into a drawer, silently deciding whether or not to tell Alexander. She knew about his college relationship with Olivia. They had no secrets in that regard. But she also knew her husband's anxious history with that woman, how Olivia once exploited his drive for success and left him feeling used and betrayed. Charlotte mulled it over for days, finally concluding it was best not to distract Alexander during final preparations for the gala. After all, it was a card, not a threat. She reasoned that perhaps Olivia was just fishing for business or closure. Days melted into hectic nights. Conference calls with overseas investors, last-minute construction checks for the Price Tower's rooftop bar. Charlotte was engrossed in finishing touches on the building's interior design, consulting with her team on lighting, furniture, and green technology placements. Alexander was juggling interviews with major newspapers and TV networks, championing the tower as a symbol of responsible opulence. Exhaustion grew, yet an undercurrent of excitement fueled them both. This was to be their crowning achievement, a testament to their marriage and shared vision. It was the evening before the grand gala when Alexander noticed Charlotte's subdued demeanor. They were in the penthouse, sipping tea while flipping through final event logistics. Concern creased his brow. He placed his hand gently on hers. "Is everything all right, Char?" he asked, leaning in closer. "You seem off." She contemplated telling him about Olivia's card. Her natural honesty won out. She withdrew the card from her purse and slid it across the table. Alexander's eyes flickered with recognition. The mention of Olivia's name reignited a flicker of old anger, but he quickly composed himself. She dropped this off at our door a few days ago, Charlotte confessed, gauging his reaction. I didn't want to worry you. I know the last thing you need before this gala is more stress. Alexander exhaled, frustration etched across his face. I wish she'd just leave us alone. But I'm not surprised she's back. She always had a talent for finding me during important milestones. He gave a dry laugh, then reached out to squeeze Charlotte's hand reassuringly. We'll handle it. You and I are a team. They decided not to pursue the matter further. Security at the gala was tight, and the guest list was strictly monitored. The chances of Olivia crashing were slim, at least that's what they told themselves. Little did they realize she'd already purchased a scalped VIP ticket through one of the event staff, ensuring her spot among New York's elite for the evening. And so, as the day of the grand opening dawned, the city was abuzz with anticipation. Guest arrivals were scheduled for 6 o'clock. Red carpets were rolled out, gold ropes adorned the entrance, and bright spotlights swept the evening sky. Photographers jockeyed for prime positions, determined to capture the first images of Alexander and Charlotte Price. Nearby, Olivia Carter was quietly slipping into a limousine, her expression unreadable, her ambition fueled by desperation. The Price Towers Gala was an extravagant spectacle. A line of polished black limousines purred along the curb, dispensing guests dressed in couture gowns and bespoke tuxedos. An effervescent crowd formed outside, composed of press, admirers, and curious onlookers. Towering video screens displayed a live feed of the event, bathing the streets in a cinematic glow. At precisely 6:30, the who's who of New York society began making their grand entrances. Inside the lavish lobby, the ambiance was downright magical. Chandeliers shaped like glistening droplets of dew hung from a vaulted ceiling. A living wall of exotic plants curved around the reception area, softly illuminated with eco-friendly LED lights that slowly shifted colors from soft blues to gentle greens. Waiters offered trays of champagne, caviar canapés, and gourmet hors d'oeuvres. Classical music from a live-string quartet floated through the air, lending an elegant touch to the festivities. Alexander Price stood by the main entrance, greeting each guest with a confident handshake and a gracious smile. At his side, Charlotte shone in a sleek, form-fitting sapphire gown that caught the light at every turn. Her hair was swept into a graceful updo, accentuating her warm brown eyes. Photographers swarmed around them, capturing every glance, every laugh, every loving glance exchanged. This was their night, the culmination of countless days and nights of shared labor. Among the first prominent arrivals was Harold Benson, a highly regarded real estate mogul who had once mentored Alexander. He praised the tower's design, remarking on how it set new sustainability standards. Next came Clara Montes, a Hollywood actress who arrived arm in arm with an up-and-coming director. The couple made a beeline for Alexander, offering their congratulations and snapping a few pictures. Political figures arrived too, Senator Ridgefield and Mayor Connolly, who each took a turn speaking about how the Price Tower signaled a bright, eco-conscious future for urban living. Just as the festivities hit full swing, Alexander spotted Sabrina Wu, the event planner, weaving her way through the crowd. She approached him with a look of mild panic. "Alex, darling," she said in hushed tones, "we have an issue with the VIP tickets. A few extra names are on the list, and we're not sure how they got there." Alexander's eyes narrowed. "Someone's selling them on the side?" She nodded quickly. "I'm having security handle it, but the best we can do is keep watch on those unauthorized guests." She paused, giving him a worried look. "I just wanted you to know." Inwardly, Alexander's mind jumped to Olivia. Could she have managed to sneak in? He decided not to alarm Charlotte just yet, hoping that there was a simpler explanation. After all, with events of this scale, ticket scalping wasn't unusual. He forced a confident smile and reassured Sabrina, telling her he trusted her to handle it. But a ripple of unease swept through him. As the clock inched toward 8 o'clock, the crowd moved upstairs to the tower's grand ballroom for the official ceremony. Crystal drapes hung from the ceiling, shimmering beneath artful lighting. A stage had been erected at the far end, flanked by enormous floor-to-ceiling windows that revealed Manhattan's glittering skyline. Guests found their assigned seats, chatting excitedly as they waited for Alexander and Charlotte to begin the inauguration speeches. Charlotte led the proceedings, stepping to the microphone with a poised smile. She spoke from the heart about the tower's revolutionary design, its commitment to reducing carbon footprints, and its potential to pave the way for future green architecture. The audience listened in rapt attention as she described the clever innovations she'd devised: rainwater harvesting systems, solar panel facades, and self-regulating temperature controls. Then came Alexander's turn. He approached the podium to thunderous applause, glancing warmly at Charlotte before addressing the crowd. He began with a tribute to his humble upbringing, reminding everyone that even the grandest dreams can start in the smallest places. He shared anecdotes of building bicycles as a teen, parallels to constructing the Price Tower, and concluded with an impassioned statement. "This tower is more than steel and glass. It's a beacon of possibility, proof that with vision, integrity, and collaboration, we can create structures that serve people and the planet. I want to thank my wife, Charlotte, whose brilliance and soul grace every beam of this building. And I thank all of you for believing in our mission." The room erupted with cheers. Camera flashes lit up the stage. Reporters jotted down notes, capturing every word. Alexander and Charlotte exchanged a fond look, hearts brimming with satisfaction. But their moment of triumph was about to be overshadowed by a carefully orchestrated interruption. No sooner had the applause died down than Olivia Carter seized the opportunity to strike. She had purposely chosen to sit in the back row of the ballroom, wearing a striking emerald green gown that commanded attention. It was not the color of envy, she told herself, but ambition, a claim that she was still worthy of any man's gaze, especially Alexander Price's. She waited until the applause subsided, then swiftly rose from her seat, slipping through the crowd toward the stage. Security guards hesitated. She held a VIP pass after all, but the determined gleam in her eyes should have been warning enough. Suddenly, Olivia strode up the steps, ignoring the staff's frantic whispers for her to stop. She grabbed the secondary microphone on the podium, her hand trembling with a potent mix of fear and audacity. The crowd gasped, uncertain whether this was a planned part of the event. Alexander froze, his jaw tightening as he recognized the intruder. Charlotte tensed, her eyes snapping to Olivia. Even Sabrina Wu, at the edge of the ballroom, pressed a hand to her mouth in horror. In a matter of seconds, every camera lens shifted away from the stunned couple toward the unexpected figure standing at center stage. Olivia's voice rang out in forced confidence. "Hello, everyone. My name is Olivia Carter. Alexander and we have a history." A thunder of murmurs arose among the audience. Journalists scrambled for vantage points, their cameras zooming in for close-ups. If the night had been trending on social media before, it was about to explode. Alexander raised a hand. "Olivia, this is neither the time nor the place," he warned, steel in his voice. Olivia shot him a look, tears visibly brimming. Whether they were genuine or staged was unclear, but they certainly fueled the drama. "I'm sorry, Alexander, but I've tried to reach you in private with no success. My father lost everything, our family is in ruins, and I'm desperate. I just need you to hear me out." A hush fell over the crowd. Some guests watched with pity, others with fascination, and others with a hint of glee, eager for the next sensational story. Charlotte's face remained calm, though her heart pounded. She placed a gentle hand on Alexander's arm, as if to remind him to keep his composure. In that gripping moment, a debate raged in Alexander's mind. Should he have security escort her out, fueling media speculation? Or should he hear her out publicly and risk overshadowing Charlotte's and his crowning achievement? The stakes were high. Anger flared within him as he recalled the heartbreak Olivia had once caused. Yet a part of him felt pity, if only a shred, remembering the financial disasters described in the gossip columns. He forced a measured tone. "All right, Olivia," he said, glancing at Charlotte, who nodded her support. "Say what you need to say, but briefly." Olivia's bottom lip quivered. She launched into a tearful monologue, describing how her father's investment firm went under, how she was forced to find menial jobs to make ends meet, and how she was threatened by creditors. She painted a picture of a woman who had sunk from dizzying heights into an abyss of despair. As she spoke, hushed voices rippled through the audience. "And so," she concluded, eyes glistening, "I came here tonight, not just to ask for your help, Alexander, but to show the world, how remorseful I am for everything that happened between us. You believed in me once, and I threw it away. I'm not asking for your pity. I just want a second chance at life." Alexander let out a slow, measured breath. "You chose a rather dramatic way to deliver your message," he remarked, voice tinged with resentment. Behind him, Charlotte's eyes flickered with empathy, though she also sensed a manipulative undertone in Olivia's display. The entire ballroom was transfixed, waiting for Alexander's reply. Even the string quartet stood frozen in the corner, instruments abandoned. "I'll admit," Alexander said after a pause, "I'm sorry your family is going through a difficult time." He glanced at the cameras, fully aware that the entire world was watching this spectacle unfold live. "But you must understand that the timing and method you chose to approach me tonight are disrespectful. Not only to me, but to my wife and everyone here celebrating months of hard work. This is neither a stage for personal confessions nor a place for public negotiations." Olivia's eyes darted, searching the crowd for support, finding none. Everyone was locked on Alexander. "In the past," Alexander continued, voice firm, "you made it clear that my resources were never enough for you. Then you left. You never once tried to apologize until you found yourself in financial ruin. That alone speaks volumes." A wave of tension cracked in the air. Some guests whispered their approval, while others exchanged disbelieving glances, riveted by the unfolding drama. Olivia, lips parted, appeared on the brink of tears. She reached out a hand, making a last-ditch attempt to appeal to his charity. "Alexander, can't we talk this out privately?" Alexander looked at Charlotte, who gave him a small nod, silently conveying her trust in his decision. Then he drew a breath and replied, "Security will show you to the lounge. We can speak there after the ceremony." The audience exhaled in collective relief. 2 security guards, finally responding to Alexander's instruction, stepped forward. Gently but firmly, they escorted Olivia off the stage and out of the ballroom. Before she disappeared, she spun around, eyes pleading for one final look from Alexander. He turned away, heart pounding, determined not to let her overshadow his and Charlotte's moment any further. Adjusting the lapels of his tux, Alexander faced the crowd once more, forcing a reassuring smile. "Now, everyone, let's not let an unexpected cameo rob us of this celebration. The price tower is officially open. Please enjoy the evening, have some champagne, and take the time to explore this wonderful space. We appreciate your support." Applause tentatively returned, although the atmosphere had transformed into a mix of shock and curiosity. Journalists were already huddled together, exchanging hushed remarks about tomorrow's headlines. It was evident that the Olivia Carter incident would dominate the media cycle. Yet Alexander and Charlotte maintained their poise, determined to salvage the night. They walked off stage arm in arm, offering polite smiles, and braced themselves for the next wave of developments once the lights dimmed. With the official ceremony concluded, the gala resumed, albeit under a cloud of gossip. Guests migrated to the rooftop lounge, a swanky space with panoramic views of the city. There they sipped signature cocktails and picked at gourmet canapés while discreetly dissecting Olivia's intrusion. Here and there, clusters formed. Politicians and businessmen whispered about motives, socialites offered scandalized commentary, and the press circled like hungry wolves, desperate for a statement from Alexander or Charlotte. Meanwhile, in a private conference room behind the scenes, Alexander sat at a long, polished table, his reflection glinting in its surface. He waited for security to bring Olivia, determined to handle this matter swiftly and definitively. Charlotte joined him, her expression resolute but tinged with concern. She placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Are you sure you want me here?" she asked softly. He covered her hand with his. "You're my wife, my partner in everything. If Olivia wants to talk, she can do so with both of us present. No more secrets." A few minutes later, Olivia arrived, subdued and visibly shaken. She spotted Charlotte immediately, her face falling in disappointment. The presence of an audience, particularly Charlotte, clearly wasn't part of her plan. Nonetheless, she took a seat across from them, smoothing her emerald gown over her knees in a nervous gesture. Alexander broke the silence. "All right, Olivia. We've given you this time. Say what you must. But understand, I will not tolerate any manipulative tactics." She nodded, swallowing hard. "Alexander, I admit my timing was poor, but I wasn't sure if I'd get another chance. My father's business collapsed after a failed venture in overseas markets. We lost everything. She glanced at Charlotte, then lowered her eyes. "I just need a chance to start anew. If not alone, maybe a job. Something that can help me rebuild." Charlotte frowned. "You ambushed us at our event, in front of hundreds of people. That's not the action of someone seeking a genuine dialogue." Olivia's cheeks burned with a mixture of shame and anger. "I know, and I'm sorry, but you have to understand. Since college, I've only known a life of comfort. I never anticipated I'd be working as a part-time stylist, just to pay rent. I've reached out to old friends, old contacts. No one wants to help. Alexander, you're my only hope." A pregnant pause followed. Alexander felt an internal conflict. The memory of her betrayal was still raw, but she had indeed been a part of his life once upon a time. A swirl of questions flickered in his mind. Could he trust her not to cause further chaos? Could helping her open the door to more trouble down the road? Sighing, he rubbed the bridge of his nose. "I can't promise anything, Olivia. And if I do help, it will be done above board, through official channels, charitable organizations, or legitimate job postings. I'm not just going to cut you a check or hand you a position. Do you understand?" Relief wreathed Olivia's face, but a spark of cunning still lurked in her eyes. "Yes, I understand. Thank you," she said. "That's all I wanted. An opportunity." "All right," Alexander replied, leaning back in his seat. "I'll have my HR department contact you for interviews. If you're qualified for a position, you'll be treated like any other candidate. No special favors." A flicker of irritation crossed her features, but she nodded. "I appreciate it." Charlotte leaned forward. "And please, no more theatrical displays. You left your mark on our event. We don't need any more stunts." Olivia swallowed her pride. "I promise. No more disruptions." Rising from her seat, she clutched her purse, eyes flicking between Alexander and Charlotte. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. I'll do whatever it takes to prove myself." With that, she turned and exited the room, escorted by a discreet security guard who would guide her out of the building. As the door clicked shut, Alexander exhaled heavily. Charlotte rubbed his shoulder. That was generous, more generous than she deserved. He gave her a wry smile. "You think I made a mistake?" She shook her head. "Not necessarily, but be cautious. People rarely change their core motivations overnight, especially when they're desperate." Alexander nodded, appreciating her insight. "At least now, if she tries something, we know we handled it cleanly. No hidden deals, no hush money." They left the private room, rejoining the mingling crowd in the rooftop lounge. Cameras flashed as soon as they stepped in, reporters hoping for quotes, guests eager to see if the event had truly recovered its celebratory spirit. Alexander and Charlotte made the rounds, greeting VIPs, laughing politely at jokes, and projecting the image of an unshakable power couple. Still, the incident lingered in everyone's mind. A few high-profile guests discreetly thanked them for maintaining composure. Others offered pointed questions about what had happened backstage. But the general consensus seemed to be that Alexander had handled a messy situation with poise. Many found Charlotte's calm presence admirable, remarking how gracious she was to stand by her husband in the face of potential scandal. Eventually, the night wound down. The last of the champagne flutes were collected, and guests began trickling out to awaiting limousines. Standing by the panoramic windows, Alexander and Charlotte watched as the city's lights twinkled below. Tension released from their shoulders, replaced by a quiet sense of relief and victory. Despite the drama, Alexander said, softly wrapping his arm around Charlotte's waist, "We pulled off one hell of an event." She chuckled, leaning her head on his shoulder. "We did, and no matter what tomorrow's headlines say, I know the Price Tower stands for something good. That's what truly matters." Outside, cameras still flashed, but from a distance, Alexander bent down and kissed his wife gently, a symbolic act of solidarity. For a moment, they were enveloped by the city's glow, standing as equals who had weathered a storm, together. The following morning, newspapers and online tabloids were ablaze with sensational headlines. Olivia Carter crashes Price Tower Gala. Billionaire Alexander Price confronted by ex in shock public plea. Charlotte Price maintains poise in face of scandal. Social media platforms erupted with commentary, memes, and hot takes. Some defended Alexander's generosity, others suspected Olivia's intentions. Armchair psychologists analyzed every micro-expression during the incident, dissecting body language to glean hidden truths. Alexander and Charlotte stirred awake in their penthouse, the morning sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. Their phones buzzed incessantly with calls, texts, and notifications. Charlotte flipped through the local newspaper, reading coverage of the gala. She sighed heavily at the exaggerated quotes attributed to anonymous sources. Alexander scrolled through his phone, rejecting a string of interview requests. "It's unbelievable how quickly this spread," he muttered, shaking his head. "I wonder if anyone will actually talk about the tower's eco-friendly design or the philanthropic aspect." Charlotte set down the paper. "Scandal always overshadows substance," she lamented, leaning in for a comforting hug. "But in time, the real story of the tower will come through. For now, it's just the world's appetite for drama." His assistant, Nathan Brooks, chose that moment to walk in, tablet in hand, expression grim. "Good morning, sir. I've organized your schedule for the day. You have back-to-back meetings, a few phone calls with investors, and unfortunately, a barrage of media inquiries. I assume you'll want to decline or postpone those?" Alexander nodded. "Yes. Issue a statement reiterating that last night's incident was a personal matter, swiftly resolved, and that we're focusing on the tower's future. Keep it brief." Nathan typed away. "Will do. Also, HR is asking about the directive concerning Ms. Carter. They want to confirm you're serious about granting her an interview for potential positions." Charlotte exchanged a glance with Alexander. He hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, I gave my word. She can apply and go through the usual protocols." "Understood," Nathan replied, sounding unconvinced but loyal. "I'll instruct them to proceed." As soon as Nathan left, Charlotte looked at Alexander quizzically. "You don't regret it?" He took a breath. "I'm not sure yet, but a part of me feels it's the right thing. Whether she passes the interview process or not is out of my hands. My team won't just hand her a position. If her intentions are genuine, maybe it'll help. If not, well, it'll become clear soon enough." Charlotte nodded, placing a warm hand on his cheek. "Just be careful. She knows how to stir up a scene." They shared a moment of quiet understanding before heading down to breakfast, determined to maintain some semblance of normalcy. The staff had prepared a spread of fresh fruit, avocado toast, and scrambled eggs. They ate, reflecting on the roller coaster of the last 24 hours. After breakfast, Alexander dashed into the office for a series of meetings regarding the tower's next phase, a chain of sister hotels around the country. Charlotte, meanwhile, planned to visit the tower's site to ensure everything ran smoothly for the first wave of guests checking in. Before heading out, she paused by a full-length mirror, smoothing a stray hair, bracing herself for the day's potential onslaught of questions. In truth, both had trouble shaking the feeling that Olivia's saga wasn't over. Their instincts warned that a single conversation wouldn't quell a desperate soul determined to cling to the life she once had. The day pressed on, though, with no new intrusions, only the hum of phones and a swirl of gossip from outside their protective bubble. Late in the afternoon, Charlotte took a moment to marvel at the Price Tower's lobby, now thrumming with paying hotel guests, curious visitors, and a few camera-toting tourists. She smiled at the staff behind the reception desks, young people full of enthusiasm for this innovative hotel. As she turned a corner, heading toward the elevator, she overheard two guests chatting about the dramatic woman from the night before. Even in hushed tones, the name Olivia carried like a ghost. Charlotte kept her head held high. She reminded herself that projects of this scale always attract complications, that she and Alexander could weather any storm with honesty and unity. Little did she realize that a storm was indeed brewing, one that would soon test the deepest bonds of their marriage. A week passed with no direct contact from Olivia. True to his word, Alexander instructed HR to process her application, though he made it clear that any job offer would be contingent on her qualifications and references. She was directed to fill out forms online, just like every other candidate. To Charlotte's relief, no dramatic reappearances occurred in the meantime. During that lull, the Price Tower flourished. High-end clients booked the penthouse suites, praising the fusion of luxury and sustainability. Architecture magazines ran glowing profiles on Charlotte's designs. Business journals lauded Alexander's leadership, crediting him with pioneering a new wave of eco-luxury. Their synergy seemed unstoppable. But one late afternoon, as Charlotte prepared to leave the tower, she received an unexpected call from the HR department. "Mrs. Price," the HR manager Tara DuPont said in an uneasy tone, "I hate to bother you, but we have a small concern regarding Ms. Carter's application." Charlotte froze. "What is it?" "Well, it's unusual. Olivia provided references that don't seem to check out. She also claims she's close to you personally and indicated you would vouch for her skills." A knot twisted in Charlotte's stomach. "She used my name?" Tara hesitated. "Yes, she stated you'd personally reviewed her fashion consulting portfolio, which is why we felt the need to clarify with you. Also, we did some digging into her previous work experience. The timelines don't match. Her stated positions either didn't exist or the companies have no record of her." Charlotte inhaled slowly, anger boiling beneath the surface. "Thank you for informing me. I can assure you Ms. Carter has never shown me any such portfolio, nor do I vouch for her professionally." "I understand. How would you like us to proceed?" Charlotte paused, torn between wanting to reject Olivia outright and maintaining fairness. Finally she said, "Follow standard procedure. If her credentials are fraudulent, reject her. No special treatment, positive or negative." "Will do. Thank you, Mrs. Price," Tara concluded. Charlotte stood in the corridor for a moment, phone in hand, seething. Olivia's audacity was astounding. After all that drama, she was now forging references and lying about personal endorsements. Charlotte wasn't entirely surprised, but she was definitely disappointed. It confirmed her worst suspicions. Olivia was a manipulative opportunist. That evening, Charlotte shared the news with Alexander over dinner in their penthouse. He swore, his frustration evident. "I gave her a chance. This is how she repays our generosity, by lying on her application." Charlotte's lips tightened. "We did what we could. Now it's on HR to disqualify her. She doesn't deserve to be part of our organization." Alexander nodded in agreement. "I'll make it clear we won't tolerate this. If she tries any more stunts, we'll handle it legally." They steered the conversation to lighter topics, refusing to let Olivia dominate their time. Yet the nagging sense of betrayal lingered. Before they turned in for the night, Charlotte noticed Alexander pacing on the balcony, gazing over the luminous city. She joined him, slipping her arm around his waist. "You okay?" she asked. He sighed, voice tinged with regret. "I hoped maybe she'd changed, that she was just desperate. But it's obvious she's the same person she was in college, self-serving, cunning." Charlotte rested her head on his shoulder. "At least we know now. We're still in control." Alexander nodded, his hand tightening around hers. "Yes, we are." Within days, HR officially rejected Olivia's application, citing falsified references. Alexander assumed the matter was closed. Then, out of nowhere, an article appeared on a popular gossip website, Buzz Trends, titled "Billionaire's Wife Accused of Blocking Ex-Girlfriend's Career. Is Charlotte Price Insecure?" The piece referenced anonymous sources inside Price Innovations, claiming Charlotte personally blacklisted Olivia out of jealousy and that Alexander was torn between two women. Outrage flared in Charlotte's eyes when she read the piece. "This is absurd," she exclaimed, slamming her phone on the countertop. "I've never blocked her." She disqualified herself. Alexander picked up his own phone, scanning the article with growing fury. Clearly, Olivia's feeding them false information. She's taking advantage of the public's appetite for scandal. "I'll contact our legal team about a cease and desist." Charlotte nodded, inhaling sharply to quell her anger. "I won't let her drag our name through the mud." Yet the damage was done. Within hours, tabloids and social media were teeming with conspiracy theories that Charlotte felt threatened by Olivia's long-standing bond with Alexander, that she used her influence to sabotage Olivia's career, that Alexander was secretly meeting Olivia. Each new rumor twisted reality further. Their PR team scrambled to push back with factual statements, but rumors thrive on drama, not truth. The story was already viral. Sitting in the sleek conference room of Price Innovations, Alexander, Charlotte, and their top advisors convened an emergency strategy meeting. Their publicist, Deborah Lane, laid out the situation. "We can issue a formal denial," she began, "but these gossip sites thrive on speculation. Even if we sue, it could become a bigger story." Alexander slammed a fist on the table. "I won't let this continue. Let's do the formal denial, demand corrections from each site that's published these lies." Deborah nodded. "Of course we'll proceed, but brace yourselves. The retractions might be buried in small print. The sensational headlines will remain in the public consciousness." Charlotte's eyes flicked to Alexander. "Maybe we need to address this from a more personal angle, a candid interview or statement directly from us, something that shows we have nothing to hide." Alexander frowned, considering. "Perhaps you're right. If we speak openly, share our side, it might stifle the rumors, but there's a risk of giving Olivia more publicity." The group discussed various tactics, ultimately deciding that a concise, sincere video statement posted on Price Innovations' official social media channels would be the best approach. They would keep it brief and factual, emphasizing that the company's hiring processes are merit-based and that all personal allegations are baseless. By evening, Alexander and Charlotte sat side by side in a studio corner of their headquarters. A neutral background displayed the Price Innovations logo. They both wore professional but approachable attire. Under studio lights, they recorded a short video. Charlotte spoke first. "Hello everyone, I'm Charlotte Price. My husband and I usually prefer to keep our personal lives private, but due to recent sensational allegations, we want to clarify a few points." Alexander picked up. "Our company follows strict ethical and legal guidelines in all hiring practices. No one, my wife included, has the power to blacklist applicants. Unfortunately, rumors have circulated claiming otherwise." Their statement was calm, clear, and direct. They expressed regret that any individual felt the need to spread falsehoods. They concluded with a gentle reminder that focusing on positive contributions, like the Price Tower's success, was more productive than engaging with harmful gossip. The video was posted that night across various social media platforms. Feedback came swiftly. Loyal supporters applauded their professionalism, praising Charlotte's composure. Skeptics claimed it was damage control. The gossip sites updated their stories but often cast doubt, framing the couple's statement as defensive. Olivia, for her part, remained silent for days, presumably strategizing her next move. Tensions hit a peak when, unexpectedly, Alexander received a dinner invitation from none other than Olivia. She proposed meeting at an upscale restaurant to settle the bad blood between them, offering to record a joint statement exonerating Charlotte. Initially, Alexander dismissed it, suspecting a trap. But Charlotte, who had grown tired of the swirling rumors, suggested they at least hear Olivia out, on neutral ground. If there was a chance to shut this down, it might be worth the risk. They picked a public locale, Le Rose Blanc, a Michelin-starred restaurant known for its elegant ambiance and watchful security. The arrangement was that Alexander would arrive first, with Charlotte joining only if things seemed safe. Under no circumstances would they be alone with Olivia in a private room. Alexander arrived, took a seat in a secluded corner booth, and waited. Spotting him, Olivia glided into view, wearing a sleek black cocktail dress. Her hair was styled in glamorous waves, and her demeanor projected confidence. Yet Alexander sensed the tension behind her eyes. This was a woman who'd bet everything on regaining her status, and was losing. She slid into the booth across from him, offering a tight smile. "Thank you for coming." He nodded curtly. "Let's get straight to the point." She lowered her gaze. "The gossip has turned nasty. I never intended for Charlotte to be painted as a villain. I just wanted my chance. But now the press has taken it too far." Alexander fought the urge to scoff. "You fed them lies, Olivia." She pursed her lips. "I may have embellished my side, but I didn't think it'd spiral into this. Now I'm hounded day and night by reporters, asked if I'm pregnant with your child, if I'm extorting you, if Charlotte is paying me hush money. It's endless. I want out." Alexander's jaw tightened, the nerve of her, blaming the press for stories she helped seed. "So, you proposed a joint statement. Let's hear it." Olivia cleared her throat. "I'll publicly admit I fabricated my references. I'll also clarify that Charlotte had nothing to do with my rejection at Price Innovations. In return, I want a compensation package, a lump sum that can help me start over." Alexander snorted. "So blackmail, essentially." Her eyes flashed with indignation. "It's not blackmail. I'm offering a solution. My going public could help all of us. I just need some financial security." At that moment, Charlotte, who had been listening from a discreet distance, approached. She slid into the booth beside Alexander. Olivia's composure faltered, but she quickly regained her poise. Charlotte's voice was low but firm. "You claim you don't want more scandal, yet you're demanding payment in exchange for telling the truth. That's extortion, Olivia, not a solution." Tension crackled. Olivia swallowed hard. I have nothing left. You two have everything. Isn't it fair you help me rebuild?" Charlotte's eyes burned with disbelief. "Fair? Alexander earned his fortune through years of hard work. I've poured my soul into my career. You can't waltz in 'cause chaos and then expect us to bankroll your life." Olivia's eyes glistened with tears. Whether genuine or crocodile, neither Alexander nor Charlotte could discern. "You say that, but you don't understand the fear of losing everything you've ever known." Alexander leaned forward, voice steely. "I do understand that fear. I grew up with nothing, but I didn't resort to extortion. I worked, I persevered, and I refused to compromise my principles." Olivia opened her mouth, but no words came out. A swirl of emotions flickered across her face. Anger, envy, remorse, desperation. Finally, she let out a shaky sigh. "Then there's nothing left for me to do. Without your help, I'm ruined." She paused, scanning the restaurant, noticing the watchful eyes. "I guess this is goodbye then." She rose to leave, but Alexander's voice stopped her. "We don't owe you money, Olivia, but if you truly want to set the record straight, you can issue a statement on your own. No deals, no hidden agendas." She paused, her back turned. "And if I don't?" Charlotte spoke quietly. "Then the rumors continue, lawsuits may follow, and you face the consequences of your lies. You want to do the right thing, prove it." For a moment Olivia stood frozen. Then, head bowed, she made her way out of the restaurant, leaving Alexander and Charlotte in silence. Their final confrontation had ended with neither side fully victorious, but one fact remained clear. Their moral ground remained intact. Days after the tense dinner, a hush fell over the scandal. Either Olivia decided not to fan the flames further, or she was strategizing her next move. Alexander and Charlotte tried to refocus on their work, refusing to let the ordeal overshadow their lives. Still, the rumors cast a shadow, prompting them to seek a moment of catharsis, something public, definitive, and uplifting. Fortune smiled on them in the form of a high-profile charity gala hosted by the renowned philanthropic organization Hope Vision. The event aimed to raise funds for environmental initiatives, perfectly aligning with the Price Tower's ethos. The host invited Alexander to give a keynote speech about sustainable development. Without hesitation, he agreed. Charlotte would accompany him, presenting the design perspective. The gala was held at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, an elegant venue adorned with shimmering lights and floral arrangements. Celebrities, politicians, and philanthropists arrived in droves, each contributing to the cause. The media was present in full force, anticipating perhaps another dramatic twist involving the billionaire and his wife. Alexander took the stage first. Dressed in a sleek tuxedo, he exuded a calm gravitas. He spoke with sincerity about the need for responsible innovation, urging the wealthy and powerful to invest in planet-saving technologies. The crowd rewarded him with respectful applause. Then Charlotte joined him, looking radiant in a flowing ivory gown. Together, they talked about the architectural intricacies of green building. Cameras clicked incessantly, capturing the synergy between them. At the end of the speech, a hush fell over the large hall. Alexander set aside his microphone, turning to face Charlotte. The tension of the past weeks, the rumors, the public scrutiny, Olivia's intrusion, hung in the air. In one decisive moment, he slipped an arm around Charlotte's waist and pressed a tender, passionate kiss on her lips. The audience gasped, then erupted into thunderous applause, cheers, and camera flashes. The kiss wasn't lewd or showy. It was raw affirmation of love, of partnership. The tabloids labeled it the kiss seen round the world. In that single gesture, Alexander publicly declared where his heart truly lay. There was no ambiguity, no hidden longing for an ex. The message was clear. Charlotte was his wife, his partner, the one he adored. In the following days, the media pivoted. Headlines shifted from scandal to romance. Billionaire Price stuns gala with public display of devotion. A kiss to remember. Alexander and Charlotte silence rumors. Social media lit up with trending hashtags celebrating the couple's authenticity. Even critics admired the confident simplicity of their act. As for Olivia, her name faded from the spotlight. Some said she moved overseas. Others whispered she took a low-profile job in a boutique. Whatever her path, she no longer loomed over Alexander and Charlotte's life. The final rumor was that she issued a reluctant public apology on her personal social media. An apology that garnered little attention compared to the wave of positivity surrounding the couple. And so, in the end, love and truth prevailed. Alexander and Charlotte weathered the storm of gossip, betrayal, and blackmail. Their empire remained intact, and their bond only strengthened by the trials they faced together. The dramatic public kiss at the charity gala became an enduring symbol of their unbreakable unity, a real-life moment that shocked everyone, but also reminded the world that genuine love outshines scandal every time. Thank you for joining us on this journey of love, ambition, betrayal, and ultimate redemption. Alexander Price may have built an empire from the ground up, but it was his unyielding bond with Charlotte that stood tall against every assault, past lovers, swirling rumors, and public scrutiny. Their story reminds us that true wealth goes beyond what's in our bank accounts. It's found in unwavering commitment, mutual respect, and the courage to do what's right. If you found this tale inspiring or simply enjoyed the dramatic twists, we invite you to share your thoughts in the comments and pass the story along to friends. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more captivating tales of romance, power, and the resilience of the human spirit. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time with another unforgettable story.